person I have to introduce almost needs no introduction, but just one thing. Kathleen Hart is the name.
Well done, thank you.
The person that got me here involved in this fight, and the person that's been an inspiration to so many of us, because he's still here, he's still standing, and he will not be silenced by an evil, even satanic state, is our next guest, and perhaps the single spiritual leader of everything that's happening in this area in Scotland is his fight for Holly Gregg. I give you Robert Green.
That's very kind of you, and thank you for all your kind support. And many of you have been following me, sometimes over the last few years, and many of you have been fighting me, supporting me, and especially Holly, for many years now. So I thank all of you, and thank you for coming today. Firstly, I think I should say that I think the standard of the speech is going to be absolutely fantastic. But I would say that, and I would particularly congratulate both Jane Taylor and Vicky as well. Because they're not used to speaking in public. And I think they're both done magnificent. They're brave, courageous women. I think that's great. The only complaint I've got about Vicky is I've got a follower. That's the main problem for me. How do I follow that? Anyway, talk about a few things. Just going on with what Vicky was saying, when she was talking about people in very high prominent positions being paedophiles, strictly speaking, they're not just paedophiles, they're really always Satan's witnesses. That is why they are where they are. Most paedophiles don't necessarily want to get into positions of power, they just want to get away with what they're doing. The really dangerous ones are the Satan's ritual abusers, because part of their way of being is that they want to get in power, they want to control things, they want to stop people and all the rest of them carry on completely without any sort of hold up whatsoever. So they're the really dangerous ones. Right, obviously I'm going to be talking a little bit about issues here in Scotland and talking about just briefly of the Holly Gregg case. And obviously, mainly going along with what people are talking about today is that we've got to stand here and keep fighting. That is the main thing. Perseverance is the key to everything. All the opposition wants us, they know we're right and they're wrong, they just want us to stop and give up. That is what they want us to do. But we're not going to do that, are we? We're going to stick at it. Now, I just mentioned to you about the Kathleen Hart, David brought out the matter of Kathleen Hart, the person at the Crown Office who told me, because it was Elise Angelini who was the Lord Advocate between 2006 and 2011, who had effectively blocked the Holly Gregg case, even though she repeatedly refused to say that. And actually said in court, in the Sheriff Court, in the Court of Session, and to the Press Complaints Commission, that she had no involvement whatsoever in the Holly Gregg case. That was a downright lie, and I think the value of perseverance has been a letter I just got hold of just a few days ago. Many of you will know that my MP, or my former MP, David Norris, who's a Conservative and the Health Minister, has been very helpful, and in March sent out some very pertinent letters on my behalf to Nicola Sturgeon, to Leslie Evans, who's the Permanent Secretary, and to Lady Smith, who's now in the inquiry. None of these letters have been satisfactorily answered at all yet, even though it's about 4 months ago. And I'll come back to Lady Smith in just a few moments. But the key to all this, in many ways, is the behaviour of, as far as the Holly Gregg case is concerned, is Elise Angelini, and I suspect she's behind a lot of the other cover-ups that have been taking place. Now, what happened what I would say is just what happened at my trial, because it comes into context in a few minutes, and I go a bit further, is that when I had my first trial in 2012, the sheriff at the time was Sheriff Principal Edward Bowen. Now, it turned out that at the time he obviously was no interest, he had very little interest in all the expert documents on which I did quite which are expert documents from the likes of Dr. Jack Boyle, one of the finest experts in the United Kingdom, Dr. Eva Harding, the Grampian Police's own forensic medical officer, Dr. Frances Kelly, that's a lady, and also many other prominent people. Also Dr. Paul Carter as well, who was the medical officer for the police school that Holly attended, which was Beechwood Special School in Aberdeen. Now, what transpired from that was that after Sheriff Bowen decided to sentence me, I did a bit of research and found that he had a 10-year acquaintanceship, business acquaintanceship, with none other than Dame Alice Angelini. And Dame Alice Angelini was one of the people who was cited to appear for the defence on the basis of a letter written by Stephen McGowan. The same Stephen McGowan was mentioned by John Shields a little while ago. Both Stephen McGowan and Alice Angelini were both called for the defence as witness and both refused to attend. Alice Angelini, former Lord Advocate of Scotland, who was supposed to be a person of impeccable integrity, refusing to come before the court on oath. And of course, when she refused, of course, who supported her in not coming to the court but Sheriff Principal Bowen, who we then found had been an acquaintance of hers for 10 years. In fact, they resigned from the same organisation within 24 hours of each other on the 5th and 6th of July 2011, respectively. Anyway, as I came at the sentencing hearing on the 17th of February, I decided to confront Bowen about this, as it is obviously a very serious conflict of interest. He should never have been taking the case, quite obviously. And I challenged him in court. One or two people might have been there that day, which has all been audio, which is very important. We knew there was an audio on this. So I challenged Bowen over this issue. He got very angry in short, and after a short period of time came back to pronounce the sentence on him, his sentencing comments. Within his sentencing comments, and we could see to you, obviously this has never happened to him before, he actually has his character challenged in court publicly. He quite clearly was virtually almost out of control, and at one point, in the middle of this talk, this attack on me, which is all it was, he suddenly said something to me. He said this: "How dare you, an Englishman, come here to Scotland to tell us what to do? We know how to run the justice system here in Scotland." So clearly a case of the very least of racial discrimination that would disqualify anybody from having judgment over any other person of that nationality. There's clearly prejudice against me of a racial nature. Now, after he'd given me a maximum sentence, of course, and maximum sentence he could, but when I was in prison, I tried to get hold of the transcript, because I knew there was an audio of this, and it was an open court. I think one or two people were present at the time. And when I got the transcript, there was no mention of the other two sentences I've just mentioned. Everything else seemed to be more or less what I'd heard, but the two key sentences I've just mentioned were missing. So, of course, when I got out of prison, I pressed hard to find out where the transcript was, because obviously this was not an accurate transcript. Anyway, to cut a long story short, the Scottish authorities would still decline to give me a proper answer to this. But in the end, I did manage to get an investigation supported by Lord Lissy. And this investigation into what Bowen had said was heard by none other than Lady Smith, Lady Anne Smith. So I came before Lady Smith on sometime in July 2013, having provided all the information, all the things I'd heard, and the fact that there's a considerable number of people who were there in court who heard these same remarks were all prepared to come forward and give a sworn statement. They were witnesses of what had happened. Lady Smith told me that she'd listened to the tape, and the words that I mentioned, they didn't exist at all. So I said, well, obviously, if that's the case, then this tape must have been tampered with. Now, it's worth remembering the sentencing statement only lasted maybe about 5 minutes at the most. It was pretty short. So I said to Lady Smith, well, may I listen to it then? And she says, no, you're not going to listen to it, you have to take my word for it. Which, I have to say, immediately raised my suspicions. I think it would have done anyone else. Anyway, in a short period of time, we got the response from Lady Smith, and she said that my complaint was unjustified. And she based it on the fact that she'd spoken to 2 other people other than myself, that is, the judge, Sheriff Principal Bowen, and clerk of the court, Elaine MacLeod. Myself and all the other people who had obviously given our statement, or I've made my statement, and the people who were there in court with their sworn statements about what they'd heard Bowen say, were all ignored. Every single one of us was ignored. So what Lady Smith was doing was taking the word of the 2 people who had every reason to lie, and ignoring all the people who had no reason to lie. Because it was on audio. Why would I make a complaint if it hadn't happened? Why would the other 7 people who put the names forward to make sworn statements, why would they say that if they knew there was an audio? You wouldn't do it, would you? Nobody would. You just make a big fool of yourself and ruin your own credibility. But that was Lady Smith's version of justice and conducting an inquiry. And I'd like people to remember that because of the Scottish Calabrese inquiry at the present time. Now, obviously, while we're on the subject of the inquiry, I think it's important to know, and it hasn't actually been mentioned today, but many of you will know that the original members of the inquiry, the panel, Professor Michael Lamb of Cambridge, Susan O'Brien QC, and Glenn Houston, the 3 people on the panel, all resigned, and they'd all agreed on one thing, and that was interference of the Scottish Government in the independence of the inquiry. In fact, Susan O'Brien went as far as to say she did not think that any possible independent, proper inquiry could possibly take place under the system as it was at the moment, where the Scottish Government could interfere. Now, again, as many of you know, we have proved that the entire Scottish Cabinet that existed on the 26th of May, which included Alex Salmon, Nicholas Sturgeon, and John Swinney, have all breached 10.1 and 21.1 of the Freedom of Information Scotland Act, as named by the Information Commissioner himself, Mr. Kevin Dunyan. Moreover, the Scottish Government still ignored that. It wouldn't do anything about it, to put it right. And on the 11th of July 2011, Mr. Dunyan made a public announcement that unless the entire Scottish Cabinet came forward with an answer to this, they would face criminal charges of contempt of court. They had 24 hours. Now, I think most of you are here from Scotland. Did any of you read that in the paper? Don't you think that would be the #1 story? Even perhaps in England, I think with all the terrible things going on here and the corruption, there's plenty of it in England, I can tell you. Even in England, you would actually, I'm sure that even with the Conservative supporting papers, if the Conservative government were in place within 24 hours of the whole cabinet facing criminal charges, it would be #1 news everywhere, wouldn't it? But it was stopped in Scotland. And the person who was mostly responsible for stopping it was someone I think many of you will have heard of before, Peter Watson of Levy and McRae, who was the solicitor of Elish Angelini and Alex Salmon. Editors all over Scotland and broadcasters were threatening over this with dire retribution if they dared to mention anything about this issue and indeed the Holy Grail case itself. So we had a very serious situation there. I'm going to say that, I'm just talking about Scotland at the moment, but I am dealing with some, mainly because of my involvement in the Holy Grail case. I do get invited to talk all over the UK and so forth, which is very good, because people are very interested. And as a result, I'm actually assisting, although it's not my main case, I don't really deal with Holy Grail case, and it's completely. But I'm dealing with cases, terrible cases in the UK at the moment, including Melanie Shaw, Samantha Baldwin, and Sir Edward Heath. What I can tell you, without going into details, I have provided expert witness documentation to the police over Sir Edward Heath. You will probably note in this, obviously it's relevant, Sir Edward Heath is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, so it's as relevant to Scotland as it is to any other of the countries in the Union. What I had discovered, and through some of the work that was done, was that Sir Edward, in his government, which was in power between 1970 and 1974, had covertly covered up sexual abuse by Conservative MPs. How do we know this? It is because the Chief Whip at the time, Tim Fortescue, was interviewed on BBC television in 1995 and actually openly admitted that certain members came forward with problems with little boys. And he went to say, we protected them, and then they would do exactly what they were told. So there was a member of the government admitting covertly that the British government was concealing serious crimes from the police. Now, whether he is convicted or what will happen, because he's dead anyway, but whatever happens to Mr. Heath, whether he's exonerated or not, he may be exonerated. I don't know exactly what amount of evidence and how strong the evidence is against Sir Edward. But one thing for sure is he and the other members of the Conservative government were implicated in covering up serious crimes against children. Now, when we talked about it with Vicky mentioned, obviously just go right to the top. And I think at the present time, I think the very least that we might reasonably expect is for the current Prime Minister, Theresa May, to make a public apology to all those people who were sexually assaulted or raped by Conservative MPs who were serving in the 1970 to 1974 period. The statements made by Mr. Fortescue have never ever been challenged, so I think it's fair to say that they're absolutely right. One other interesting side point was that, of course, many of the newspapers have been trying to undermine the inquiry, and there's been lots of pressure on the chief officer investigating this, Chief Inspector Mike Beale of Wiltshire Police, who's a very good police officer indeed, a very courageous one. But they're trying to get rid of him, and one of the people who's trying to get rid of him is certain Lord Armstrong, who made an attack on him in the House of Lords. Not only saying it's a waste of money and Sir Edward was a wonderful man and it's just terrible that his reputation has been sullied and all the rest of it. And also in an exchange with another member of the House of Lords, Baroness Williams of Trafford, actually intimated how to get the Chief Constable sacked. It's in the House of Lords. Now it does turn out that Lord Armstrong was actually the private secretary, the political private secretary of Sir Edward Heath during the time of his tenure as the Prime Minister. So he obviously must be well aware of what was going on at the government of that time. It got worse than that, because the Daily Mail were the ones who really made quite an attack on Chief Constable Beale via Lord Armstrong. But I did remember, and the Daily Mail had made a statement, or quite a big article in the Scottish Daily Mail in July 2015, in which it was stated quite categorically that Lord Armstrong had covered up for the rape of children by Sir Peter Morrison MP, who was actually BPS to Margaret Thatcher. So it looks as if this policy of 1970-1912 may well have been carried on. So I wrote to Paul Dacre, who's the editor-in-chief of the Associated Newspapers Group, obviously owns the Daily Mail, and pointed this out to him. And eventually I got a rather nice letter to him saying, thank you very much indeed for that. I'll be getting in touch with the news editor over this. So at least we're beginning to turn the corner on this one. I've also made a formal complaint to the House of Lords for abuse of power, people in a politician making an attack on a chief constable in the course of his duties in an appalling way, in a case in which he may well be called as a witness or a possible accomplice in crime. So obviously the House of Lords is Lady Lucy Moncrief is the person who's Lady Lucy Moncrief Scott is the person who's who's supposed to be investigating this. She's trying everything she can to get out of it, but I'm determined not to let her off on the hook, because I think if politicians start attacking police officers doing their duty, I think we really have some very serious problems. 5 minutes, yes, hold a second, almost finished now. Now, the other issue, of course, that I referred to a little earlier, was to do with Kenny McCaskill. I think mentioned Kenny McCaskill, but Elise Angelini. Now, of course, throughout this case, Elise Angelini all protested her innocence and actually stated that I was telling lies when I said that she was involved in the case, even though we had documentary information, including a letter from Angelini herself, showing that she was implicated in the case when she was first Procurator Fiscal in Aberdeen before she got promoted to be the Lord Advocate. Now, as it happens, I owe sort of a lot to David Scott here, because his initiative really shows the value of taking people on when they appear in public and challenging them, when they haven't got all their minions to write letters and emails and sort of do all the usual evasive things, but they face to face like we are now. So David went along, while I was in prison, David went along to on the 28th of April 2014, which Kenny McCaskill was addressing in Perth, and of course brought up the matter of Holly Gregg and who was responsible. To our astonishment, Mr McCaskill said the person responsible who really stopped the case going ahead was none other than Daniel Angelini, who had been saying all the time that nothing whatsoever to do with the case. Anyway, just to a little bit of fortune, which obviously shows the value of sticking with cases, which we all have to do. We know how long it takes to get justice, and we're not always quite sure we're going to get it, but we're all doing our best to try and get to that point. But my MP David Mullet was left office, and he's been doing a lot of research on this, as I mentioned, lots of letters which I referred to earlier. But now it's been handed over to his successor, who's a Labour man called Mr. Rashid. He said, well, Robert, can you come round and collect all the files, and then you can pass them on to Mr. Rashid, and he will, I'm sure, look after you. And of course, within the files were documents I hadn't seen before, like such as letters from Mr. Mullet to the Prime Minister about the case. All sorts of things there. But the one that interested me most of all was a letter from Kenny McCaskill to Mr. Mullet. And Mr. McCaskill made no bones about the fact that it was Angelini who was responsible for blocking the Holly Gregg case. So there it is. Elise Angelini absolutely steward on this. Thank you to Mr. McCaskill, who hasn't always been my best friend, I have to say. Including one public meeting where I challenged him about Angelini, and this was in Portobello actually, and he said that Elise Angelini has been an outstanding law advocate. Now, outstanding can be interpreted in different ways. At the time, people thought, well, I think he really admires her, but maybe he didn't really. Maybe in the end he was going to come clean with that. So, thank you, Kenny, wherever you are. I've really had a go at you from time to time, but you may not be my best pal now, but you've done something very, very useful, and I'm very glad I got a copy of that letter, because it really shows so there we are, the person, the head of the justice system for 5 years is capable of behaving in that way. What chance is there of any justice ever taking place in Scotland? I'm just going to finish with it's time to finish now. David's looking, yes, shut up and read. So, very last thing, I hope you won't be offended by this, but when I first got involved in the Holly Gregg case and all the documents to go with it, I was making a speech in England. And someone said to me, Robert, you know, the Scottish government and the justice system, the Crown Office, it's terrible what they've done over the Holly Gregg case. It sounds like they're like the mafia, the way they're doing it. And I said, oh no, I said, I can't have that. You cannot possibly compare the Scottish authorities to the mafia. It's an insult. It's an insult to the mafia. You say that to the Westminster government and the legal system in England, Wales and Northland as well. This is nothing attack by a Welshman living in England or the Scots, not at all. Scotland, as was always mentioned, I'm not being creepy or oily now, sorry, my teeth are falling out. But honestly, all the wonderful people in this room today, all of you have been so gallant and so putting your necks on the line to help Holly and all the rest of it, and all the other cases that you're dealing with. Scotland is a wonderful people, wonderful country, full of wonderful, kind, compassionate and brave people, as you all demonstrated today. The only trouble is, in every country, there are a few really nasty people. And sadly, they all seem to end up in Holyrood House. I could say, of course, we're restricted by time. I'm not going to bore you any further, but thank you all for coming today. Thank you again. Jane Taylor and Vicky on